we're going to be thinking about the past, present, and future of everything around the Jupiter ecosystem. And without any further ado, let's just jump right into it here and talk about the future of Jup. Before we do, we should probably talk about the past. When did this essay go out, and what is it all about?
I think I was trying to figure out a lot of the key tokenomics and the key ideas of Jupiter. And I think I wrote this essay to kind of formalize a lot of stuff. I think the reason for showing it now is kind of show that a lot of the key ideas that we talked about hasn't changed. So one of the key ideas behind the token Jup is that we believe very strong in the 50-50 idea. That means that 50% of tokens is managed by the team and 50% of tokens is for the community.
So if we keep looking through this essay here, it talks about the kind of breakdown, that 50-50 breakdown that you mentioned here. Can you talk a little bit about how the long-term success of Jupiter ties into this kind of breakdown here?
The way to think about the token is that it's a valuable resource to push the meta forward. The only way this whole Jupiter thing or crypto thing ends up being valuable for anyone is crypto actually makes a difference in the mainstream. So the reason why this is so important is because it encapsulates the key idea behind our intention to really get Jups in the hands of people who use Jupiter. Now, I do actually need a lot of leverage, okay, in terms of the token to be able to recruit the best people, to bring on the best partners and stuff, and get on the best strategy investments. And the way we balance that is that we make sure that we are 100% accountable. Before I do any of these things, you will know. And similarly, right, for the other 50%, I want the community to consciously think about it, not just go, oh, if I give out tokens, it's bad for the price, right? But more like, hey, you know what, how do we kind of use the tokens in the best way possible to grow the ecosystem? We want the community to have the leverage to say, hey, you know what, let's J for J.
J for J, all about getting the Jupiter token into the hands of the people that are contributing back into the Jupiter ecosystem, right?
One of the things that's just disappointing here is when we, as a community, right, we say, okay, hey, let's not give any tokens out, let's not do working groups. We as a community say that, fuck it, we don't grow anymore, then I might as well do it yourself.
Yeah.
The reason for making hard trade-offs and doing such to grow a pie, but if we don't grow a pie, then why are we doing it?
There's one world in which you could just rest on it, oh, it's $1 billion protocol, whatever, and then there's a different world, which is the world we're in, where the goal is to accelerate the meta and actually change the financial system and people's lives in a real way. Judicial principles don't change, but something that is about to change, or at least there's a draft proposal to change it, is the new J for J proposal. So let's talk a little bit about the present of where you see Jupiter right now and where we're going to be going.
There are three main concerns right now. The first main concern is that our FDV and our total supply is pretty fat. And also there are a lot of concerns about the ongoing emissions. And thirdly is that there's also a lot of this growing distrust, right, between the community and the team. We anchor on addressing the concerns that the investor community has and also making sure that we don't lose our long-term goal. I'm proposing a 30% reduction in the Jup total supply.
Let's just take a breath on this. So removing 30% of the total supply, so basically burning 3 billion tokens is the idea here.
Yeah.
That's wild and ambitious, and I definitely dig it. So the team themselves are taking a 30% haircut.
They get it, right? They understand why the supply is fat right now. They understand why that might be causing uncertainty among the community. And they are saying, okay, never mind. Okay, I'm willing. Let's do it. Right? It doesn't matter.
That's great. Faith in the long-term vision, I gotta say. So 30% off from the total supply, which is 30% from the team, and then also a corresponding 30% reduction in the Jupuary emissions. Can you talk about that a little bit?
What I'm doing here with this discipline reduction proposal is, number one, is that I do want to actually cut the fat. And secondly, I want to assure the community that we are responsive, even though we can't always respond immediately, right?
Every January, the plan was to do an airdrop and to call it Jupuary, right? Which is where people kind of got their tokens. I think the initial plan kind of called for 4 Jupuaries. And now with this proposal, that might change a little.
My dream is to have a system whereby we have infinite Jupularies, right? That we figure out a mechanism that is sustainable enough to do. If the first Jupulary established us as one of the most verified protocol, created the most active DAO in crypto, and one of the most engaged communities around, right? Now, I want 2 more.
So this will be January 2025 and 2026.
Precisely, right? Again, guys, this is going to be Jup token holders who are going to be voting on whether to release 2 more Jupularies and ASR.
And again, those 2 flavors would be the Jupuaries would be airdrops to users, and the ASRs for people who are part of the DAO who can actually vote with their stake. Do you want to talk about community eats first?
I care for my team.
Of course.
I want to do well. That's actually very important for me. If you think that team members who worked with no promise of getting reward stuff should be rewarded, I say fuck you. Number one, I think after the first year, I want a team to actually have a fairly substantial say in the DAO. I actually think it's fucking irresponsible for a lot of projects in the space to just hey, DAO do everything. They call it decentralization, I call it bullshit. It's I think after the second Jupuary, the team will get the first year cliff tokens, but they will stake it. So they will actually be able to vote on stuff. So that's actually the point about the team actually gets I don't know, maybe one quarter or 1/3 voting. It depends how many tokens are staked.
That's the proposal, folks. I don't know. Does that sound as crazy to all of you as it does to me? Yeah, I think so. I think it does. That's pretty wild. Pretty wild stuff.
Bro, let's cook.
Let's cook. I want to orient people a little bit towards the future of where kind of Jupiter is going as well. Like why this is also important in the long term.
I do actually think that the future of the world is one where you will continue to have fiat interfaces, credit cards, real system, everything, right? But the back end of the stuff is crypto, decentralized.
And that's where I think the GUM might be.
Thing, precisely. So the idea of GUM is simple, right? We want to actually have all the assets and RWAs, fiat, like stable coins and
Equities,
all the
real estate,
all
yeah.
that stuff be represented in a single state machine. And you can go from anything to anything easily. And our role is just simple, right? It's like we want to build the what we call the everything exchange.
The everything exchange.
Everything exchange.
I like that
for
branding a
everyone.
lot.
To get anywhere near this, we need a great community, we need a great like product, and we need a good system.
All right, so folks, hopefully you're as excited about this as we are. Obviously, the vote is not tomorrow. The goal is to start the conversation now so that the vote can happen in July. Please do go into the Discord, go into the Jupe Research forums, and let us know what you think. Maybe you have different alternatives that will allow us to fulfill the same principle-based approach of J for J, of 50-50, of long-term alignment, community eating first, but maybe in slightly different mechanics. But ultimately, the vision is clear, going towards the everything exchange in whatever way that we can.